The bugs inside
Is it
Casey's
so?
body also fell out one
Irene,
by one. The monster was dead.
come.
Everyone infected by the bug recovered. Casey, who saved the school, became a local hero. And finally,
What is this
Casey
soap?
and Delilah got
So
together.
yes, you need like this. Until it come out.
That morning, a woman had just stepped into the elevator. Right behind her, a man followed with a smile on his face. He immediately hit the stop button, then started touching her inappropriately. The woman's name was Elena. She was not only his colleague, but also his secret lover. But today, Elena clearly wanted nothing more to do with this self-centered and arrogant man. She turned around and walked away without a word. Suddenly, the man's phone rang. His wife was on the line. She said there had been a massive violent outbreak in the streets. Just then, the lights above him flickered. The elevator jolted to a stop. It was stuck between two floors. The man's name was Claudio. He was the company's financial executive. He immediately called security and yelled at him. The
That's
guard
why I
promised to
told
send
her.
help right away. But Claudio waited and waited. No one came. As a senior executive, his time was valuable. So he decided to take matters into his own hands. He used all his strength and finally managed to pry open the inner elevator doors, but the outer wall barely opened a small gap. Claudio stuck his head out and shouted for help.
Because
Hallway,
if
usually
she is
bustling
sick,
with
you
people,
will also feel
completely
sick.
empty. He
You'll
tried to
also
squeeze
feel
through the
bad.
gap, but it was way too narrow. Just then, my phone again. She said someone was banging wildly on their front door. Claudio told her to call the police, but she said the emergency line was constantly busy. Panicking, Claudio called his friend and begged him to go check on his family. Right after he hung up, he heard a loud commotion behind him. A group of
I
people
don't
was running for
realize.
their
Since I
lives.
came back from
Among them was Elena,
Nigeria
the same
January,
woman who
I've
rejected
for
him
one
earlier.
thing. I never
She was
for one
screaming
day
for
go
help,
hospital.
trying desperately
I've
to
for
get into
one
the
day.
elevator. But the next second,
Till now.
unseen force dragged her away.
I've only,
The hallway
since
was
I came back, it's only
completely
one time I bought
confused and
malaria
terrified. Claudio leaned out again
medicine.
to take a closer
Six.
look.
Since that
Suddenly,
time till
two
now.
disfigured employees rushed at him, screeching
No,
like
but these
wild
are not
animals.
the
Claudio
same.
froze in shock. He had no idea
People
what
have
was going on.
different bodies.
Luckily, the two creatures were
Starting
distracted
from the
by a
beginning,
sound
I
down
don't
the
even
hall
know why
and
she's
ran off
sick.
in that direction.
And if
Just
you
as
told
Claudio
her
was
that
trying
time
to
when I
calm
was in
down,
India,
his
if you
friend
told her
called
that
back.
she would
He
travel
said the
out,
whole city
she
was
should
full
go
of
and do
crazy
passport. She
people.
said she don't want to
All the
travel.
roads were jammed.
She loved
Claudio
Nigeria.
quickly told him about what had happened in the elevator. His friend couldn't
Oh, she
believe it.
doesn't
Is
want
this
to go
a
to
zombie
another-
outbreak?
Don't mind her. That people are suffering outside too. And the people you will go and do cleaner. That is what every time she keeps saying.
Terrified and alone.
Even though she come, it's only holiday.
Crackled to life. It was the security's voice.
I thought that what if you travel, you work a month, they pay you good money, you convert them without your business. How are you going to do? She can still do her business there. They stay or outside. I don't know.
But she don't want.
Don't want. I thought her mommy, her mother is there now. Her mother will work the money and send for her.
You know if she don't want
from behind. Claudia turned around in horror. It was Elena, the woman who had just been dragged away.
It's me, I don't even know
She
why
was a
she
mindless
always
zombie. Claudio freaked out. He grabbed the handrail with all his strength and began stabbing her head again and again until she finally stopped
Oh,
moving.
the
Only
dog
then
went
did
to
Claudio
Turkey.
realize he had just killed someone. He kept telling himself that she wasn't human anymore, just a soulless monster. But looking at that once familiar face, he couldn't help feeling creeped out. So he picked up the metal rod and pushed Elena's body into a dark corner, somewhere he couldn't see her. After cleaning up the mess, Claudio finally sat down and took a deep breath. But then he heard more noise outside. He picked up the metal rod and carefully
one.
moved toward the town.
What's
To his
this one?
surprise,
I
it was the
want
new
it. I'm
intern
looking
from
for
Troy.
it.
Claudio struggled
I saw
to
it
remember
inside
her
here
name.
now.
Then
See
he
if I
softly
can
called
unlock
out to her. He wanted
What
the
do
two
you
of
use
them
it
to work
for?
together and open the elevator
Is
door.
it for ground?
No matter how
No,
hard they tried,
I was
the door
washing
wouldn't
these
budge.
drinks. I have to
Suddenly,
do this
a
drink
loud
was very
screech
dirty
came from
inside.
nearby. The
Here.
intern panicked. She
You
tried
see
to
all
squeeze into
these
the elevator
here,
to hide.
here.
The gap was
I have
too
to
large.
do
In
the
the end, she gave up.
Because
and
I
ran
know
away by
Joshua and
herself.
Sam
Claudia
want
took a deep
to
breath.
roast
The next
meat.
moment, a zombie came
I have
charging
to
at him.
wash it.
He clawed and snarled, trying to squeeze inside. Claudio hesitated. Should he fight back? Before he could decide, the zombie was suddenly knocked away. It was the intern. She had returned. She was holding a golf club, smashing the zombie like a total badass. Claudio stood there, stunned. He never expected the shy intern to be this fierce. He was about to compliment her when two more zombies jumped out. The intern was tackled to the ground. Claudio panicked on the side, but there was nothing he could do. Feeling helpless, he pulled out his phone. The news said the city was in total chaos. The military had already been deployed. Claudio thought about his wife, still trapped at home. Thank God she was still alive. But the zombies outside her door were growing in number. Then came a few
I want to
horrible
wash it
screams.
now.
After that, silence. Claudio choked on his tears. Deep sense of hopelessness washed over him. Not long after, a bearded man appeared. It was obvious he had just survived a brutal fight. When he saw Claudio inside the elevator, he knew it was the perfect hiding spot. He pushed with all his strength, trying to squeeze in, but Claudio was already numb.
It's in
He knew it
Nigeria.
was
I'm
useless.
doing this
That
live
narrow
now.
gap
You will see
might as
people
well
are
be a
coming.
canyon.
This
And sure
place,
enough,
they
a
don't
group of
feel my
zombies
feet
rushed
don't
in and
go
tore the
up
man
in
apart.
this
Claudio
country.
let out a bitter laugh.
Let me do
People
and go.
outside wanted in, but couldn't get in.
If it
He
is
wanted
Nigeria,
out,
I'm doing
but
this
couldn't
live
get
now. I will
out.
be
It was the
getting
most frustrating feeling in the world.
I don't know.
Then,
This country
a
is not
zombie
giving
happened to
me.
walk by. Claudio made a noise on purpose, grabbed the metal rod, and went wild on it. It became pure rage. Then, at the far end of the hallway, he heard something. It was the company's vice president. She was being chased by zombies. Claudio shouted at the top of his lungs, trying to distract them, but the monsters didn't even flinch. They stormed the VP's office like a tornado. Claudio watched helplessly as his colleagues were ripped
Yeah,
apart
I'm
one by
doing
one,
that. I
sank
used
to
to
the
do
ground,
that.
warning inside.
Anytime I pray, I put
Actually
I don't remove
calmed
her.
He started searching for answers online. Sure enough, the news was flooding
Yeah, I
with
used to.
reports
I
of
do
zombies.
it.
One reporter was stuck on a chaotic street, pleading with everyone to stay at home.
Yeah, I'm
and
doing
not
that
go
one is
outside,
my
because the entire city had already
very
fallen. The
important
next
thing. I
second,
don't
a pack
remove
of
her
glowing
from
zombies swarmed him. Suddenly, the lights inside the elevator went out. Claudio glanced at the snarling zombie outside the door and realized he might soon become one of them. Just as he was about to close his eyes and give up, gunshots echoed from the hallway. Claudio's hope reignited. He leaned out to take a look. A fully armed police officer appeared. After confirming Claudio wasn't infected, he began trying to force open the elevator door. But he didn't notice a zombie creeping up behind him. Luckily, he reacted quickly. He spun around and shot it right in the head. The two of them worked together, trying to pry open the elevator. But no matter how hard they tried, the door wouldn't budge. The officer said the power needed to be restored. He handed Claudio a walkie-talkie and a pistol, explained how to use them, and left for the control room. Once again, the elevator fell silent, but this time, Claudio wasn't scared. And sure enough, the hallway lights came back on not long after. The elevator powered up too, but the door still slider stuck in the track. He reached for it, but he wasn't tall enough. Suddenly, a zombie lunged at him. Claudio jumped back into the corner. He remembered the pistol the officer left behind. Clenching his jaw, he pulled the trigger, but it was his first time firing a gun. His aim was terrible. He took a breath to steady himself and fired again. This time, it hit the zombie right between the eyes. The noise had attracted even more zombies. Claudio kept firing. One shot per zombie. Soon, all of them were down. He took a deep breath, then called the officer over the walkie-talkie, urging him to hurry back. The elevator entrance was clear for now. But then, the walkie-talkie crackled with the officer's panicked scream, followed by complete silence. Claudio realized the officer was probably dead too. His hope, once again, was shattered. Was he really going to die in this elevator? He checked the pistol. There were still a few bullets left. For a moment, Claudio considered ending it himself. He raised the gun to his head, but couldn't pull the trigger. Then, more zombies appeared outside the door. Their howls almost sounded like cruel laughter. Claudio decided to die to prove he wasn't a coward. Suddenly, he heard movement above the elevator. To his surprise, the officer wasn't dead. Claudio quickly pried open the ceiling panel and helped him back into the elevator. Seeing the zombies at the door, the officer raised his gun and fired multiple rounds. The hallway went completely silent. After confirming the guns had passed, the officer finally sat down and told Claudio what had happened. At the power room, he was ambushed by a horde of zombies. At the last second, he crawled into a ventilation duct to escape. But unfortunately, he was ill during the escape. He had seen on the news. He'd turn into a zombie soon. Claudio was shocked. Where had this virus even come from? The officer shook his head. Maybe it started with animals infected by rabies. His squad had received orders that morning to eliminate the infected, but just a few hours later, he was the only one left alive. He didn't want to turn into a mindless monster, so he begged Claudio to end it for him. But this was the man who had saved Claudio multiple times. How could he possibly pull the trigger? Left with no choice, the officer tried to do it himself, but Claudio grabbed his arm and stopped him. The officer reacted instinctively and punched Claudio. The two men slowly calmed down. The room filled with heavy silence. Deep inside, Claudio still had a bit of hope. What if the officer didn't turn after all? But after a few hours, the unconscious officer suddenly stood up. He was changing. Claudio's hope vanished in an instant. He raised the pistol and pulled the trigger. The officer slowly fell to the ground. The gunshot echoed through the building. In the distance, zombies began rushing in from all directions. Claudio was out of bullets. He picked up the officer's shotgun, but he didn't expect a kickback. The recoil hit him hard, knocking him out cold. When he finally woke up, everything was quiet again. Suddenly, the phone rang. It was his wife. Claudio burst into tears. It was the first good news he'd had all day. She told him the rescue team had found her and taken her to a safe shelter. Claudio wanted to say more, but his phone died. Still, a spark of hope returned to his heart. He picked up a metal rod from the floor, jammed it deep into the elevator track, and twisted hard. The stuck slider popped loose. Finally, Claudio could open the elevator doors. Once he confirmed the gap was wide enough, he didn't hesitate. He climbed out. He stared at the mountain of bodies in front of him, many of them faces he once knew. Pushing down the fear in his chest, he moved forward with heavy steps. The company lobby wasn't any better. One zombie was still barely alive. Claudio didn't hesitate. He stomped it down with one strong kick. After 8 hours trapped in that elevator,
You
he
know
felt
you
like a
can't
man
return it
reborn.
alone. I tried
Claudio
and
made
it
his way
didn't
out of
need
the
it
building.
because you
The
have
streets
to
were
have
filled
somebody
with
who is
bodies,
catching it for you.
scattered in every direction. It looked like he was the last man alive in the whole city. He spotted a bottle of milk on the ground. Just as he picked it up, a zombie suddenly leapt
Why
out
did you
from the
always
side.
remove it?
Claudio froze in
It's
panic.
not me
But
to
before the
remove
zombie
it,
could
sir.
touch him, a bullet flew straight into its skull. It was a sniper, a military one, stationed up high. Claudio was finally safe. Every morning, Melanie
You
strapped
hook
her
one
limbs
in
tightly
half.
to her wheelchair. She
So
then
you
secured
remove,
the collar around her
you
neck.
remove
Even with these
half of it
precautions,
from here,
the
then you
soldiers
hook one
picking
in
her
the
up
half.
never relaxed for a moment. Every morning, Melanie strapped her limbs tightly to her wheelchair. She then secured the collar around her neck. Even with these precautions, the soldiers picking her up never relaxed for a moment. They carefully checked
How are you
Melanie's
going to cook
restraints
this
to ensure
chicken?
everything was secure before wheeling
How are you
her
going
out
to
of the
cook
room.
it?
If any soldier got too close to Melanie, Sergeant Parks would sharply reprimand her. There were
You
more
will
than
not put
20 children in
pepper.
the base, just like Melanie, each of whom had to be securely restrained before leaving their rooms. 2 armed soldiers escorted each child at all times. Only after confirming the children posed no immediate threat did their teacher enter the classroom. The reason for such extreme precautions was simple. These kids were second-generation zombies, carrying the zombie
Maybe I
virus
will
within
try
them.
without
Outside the
eating
base,
pepper.
zombies had already taken over the world. Survivors had established various safe
Me
bases
eat
for
food without
humanity.
pepper.
During the fight against zombies, scientists discovered
not
these special
me.
children who had been infected while still in their mother's wombs. They looked
can't.
exactly like normal kids, but once they caught the scent of a human, they immediately became dangerously aggressive. Yet these children represented humanity's greatest hope.
Apparently, Joy
Scientists
eats
believed
without
they could
pepper.
develop a
If
vaccine from
Apparently,
studying
Joy
these
eats without
half-human,
pepper.
half-zombie children. After years of observation, researchers found something surprising. Children with
It says-
teen education could think and behave normally. Some, like Melanie, even proved exceptionally intelligent.
You say?
See, if
Melanie's
she wants
favorite teacher
pepper,
was
she
Helen.
can use
Helen was the
that
only
powder
person who
one.
didn't treat the children
Because now I can't be cooking this because of the kids.
A simple essay by Melanie.
There's a powder
That's
there.
why I wanted to use that tomato.
Yeah.
Wait, that's why I wanted to use that tomato to do small. You will cook your own. Then I'll do small stew, small to not mean so that you will eat. I will put pepper at one.
See, she can also use that one, Emma.
To put pepper.
See, that is pepper, that one. No problem. No, this, no. This can, this,
Don't worry.
this one. What is it called? This one. What do you call it? Cayenne. This cayenne is
Don't
pepper.
worry now.
Someone is it called no
Took her
tasty?
somewhere she'd never been before.
Maybe it's
Growing
texting.
anxiety. Melanie was shocked to find herself outside the base for the first time. Melanie, who had spent her entire life confined in the base, saw the outside world for the first time. Her eyes filled with anxiety and fear. The base was completely surrounded by countless zombies. More zombies continued pouring in without end. Soldiers desperately fired guns, trying to hold them back. But it was clear the zombies would soon break through. Time was quickly running out. Soon, Melanie was taken to the lab. Compared to the other zombie children, Melanie was the most human-like. Dr. Caldwell decided to dissect Melanie, hoping her body held the key to developing a vaccine. To keep Melanie calm, Caldwell quickly injected her with a tranquilizer. Soon, Melanie felt herself drifting into unconsciousness. Then, Caldwell and her assistant carefully placed Melanie on the operating table, tightly securing her with straps.
We could have been boiling the
Burning
chicken.
the lab.
Time is
Trying
going.
to stop Caldwell from carrying out the
I'm
full
done.
procedure, but Caldwell mercilessly sprayed pepper spray directly into Helen's face. The burning sensation instantly disabled Helen. 2 soldiers quickly entered and dragged her away. Alarms suddenly blared throughout the base. Selkirk, however, didn't notice a zombie approaching from behind. Caldwell reacted quickly, grabbing a fire extinguisher and smashing it onto the zombie. Although Caldwell successfully fought off the attack, her hand was severely cut by the glass. Even worse, Selkirk, who had been bitten, started rapidly transforming into a zombie. She left Melanie alone on the operating table. Fortunately, Melanie carried the same virus within her, making the zombie uninterested in her.
How you
Melanie
doing?
took advantage of this opportunity. She grabbed a scalpel, cut through her restraints. The moment Melanie stepped outside, she froze. The entire base had already been overrun by zombies. In the chaos, Melanie saw Helen. Seeing this enraged Melanie completely, she lunged at the soldier and began fighting him furiously. Blood for the first time made her feel intoxicated. She fainted. When Helen regained her senses, she quickly scooped Melanie into her arms. Helen closed her eyes in despair, awaiting death. Suddenly, an armored vehicle raced toward her. Helen jumped onto the vehicle, still clutching Melanie, but had narrowly escaped death. Inside the vehicle was Dr. Caldwell. A soldier named Gallagher quickly noticed Melanie as well. Parks immediately wanted to eliminate this potential threat.
I'm good.
Helen
How
swiftly
you
shielded
doing?
Melanie with her own body. Caldwell also stepped forward to intervene. Melanie was now her only remaining experimental subject. No other choice. Parks reluctantly backed down, but as a precaution, they strapped Melanie to the roof of the vehicle and put a life mask on her face. They headed for a lighthouse located 100 miles from the base. Another team of theirs was stationed there. However, when they reached the forest, the vehicle ran out of fuel. Forced by circumstance, they continued on foot toward the lighthouse. By evening, they reached the outskirts of the city. Parks raised his binoculars to look ahead. The city was swarming zombies. But luckily,
Where
they were
will
all
you
alone.
put this?
At that moment, the zombie mother was pushing a stroller through the
Let me
crowd
just
to
keep
get
it here
out of
first.
curiosity.
This place, where will you keep it? Did you have like answer?
Lifted the blanket.
The color one to
Startled
clean
to
this
find
place.
a rat
Wait.
feast
Can
on
I
the
use this
rotten
white
flesh
one?
inside.
You don't have
The
color
noise
one. Give me
immediately
color
caught
one.
the attention of the mother zombie. Luckily, Parks reacted fast and shot the zombie. Even though his gun had a silencer, the sound still alerted more zombies.
It's not,
The
you
group
can't
had
see
no
it
choice
there.
but fight their way out while retreating quickly. Soon, they
Come on,
found
big
shelter
ground.
inside an old, crumbling building. To make sure it was safe, Parks and Helen decided to split up. They searched the building for zombies and also looked for supplies and food. Meanwhile, Caldwell and Melanie stayed where they were. Melanie couldn't hold back her
I'm
curiosity
fine, thank
and asked
you.
Caldwell about her past.
And
Caldwell
how
didn't
you
hide
doing
anything
too?
and told her everything. She explained that when the zombie virus first
Oh,
broke out,
this-
many pregnant
this
women
is
got
inside
infected, but their
backpack.
unborn babies kept growing. The fetuses devoured their mother's organs from the inside and crawled out of their bodies. Maybe because of their strong adaptability, these babies' brains somehow coexisted with the virus. As a result, they became immune and still kept their human thoughts and emotions. Caldwell said that once a vaccine was developed, they could finally defeat the virus. Then, all remaining survivors would be saved. During this, Melanie fell silent, sleep and thought. The next morning, they got ready to leave, but they found a huge crowd of zombies completely blocking their way. Trying to sneak through like yesterday was almost impossible. While everyone felt helpless, Melanie volunteered to lure the zombies away. But Caldwell strongly disagreed, because Melanie was her only test subject. If Melanie ran off, her research would be ruined. However, Parks looked into Melanie's sincere eyes. In the end, he decided to let her try. Before leaving, Helen thoughtfully helped Melanie change into fresh clothes. Then, Melanie walked straight into the zombie crowd. Because she also carried the virus in her body, the zombies had no interest in her. After Melanie walked out of the zombie crowd, she soon spotted a stray cat on the road. Her zombie instincts instantly kicked in. She chased after it and had a big feast. After that, she continued wandering outside. It was her first time exploring the outside world, and everything fascinated her. Before long, she followed another scent and found a teddy
Irene.
dog. But this time, she
Irene.
was full and still kept
Come
her
and
mind
see.
clear. So she quickly grabbed the teddy and carried it away.
When did
She
you
brought
do
it
your
back to the
salt?
zombie crowd and put it down.
Okay.
The smell of fresh
I
meat
only like
woke
to
the
eat
zombies
salt.
at once. They immediately chased after the poor Teddy. In the end, she successfully lured the zombies away from that area. From that moment on, Melanie earned everyone's trust. Whenever they explored new places, she went first.
Irene.
Only after she made sure it was
Come.
safe, the others would follow.
Come,
Soon,
come.
they arrived at another city. But
Come and
strangely,
show me
there was
salt.
not a
I need
single
salt.
zombie in sight.
Salt.
When they reached the city center, they were completely
Yeah,
shocked.
where did you keep it?
Skyscraper, hundreds of feet tall, was
Your salt,
Ready to
cooking
eat
salt.
delivery services are not created equal. At Factor, it's personal. Everything
Where
is
did
done
you
from
eat it?
scratch every single day. Nutrition and flavor is first
Salt.
and foremost.
Salt.
when we create anything.
For
Sign up
soup.
for Factor today.
I want to use the word
Set up your
chicken.
first box at
Salt.
factormeat.com.
Yeah.
And you can't see salt.
Where I'm not seeing this one.
Beneath it lay
there.
thousands
This
of
one.
zombie corpses. The plants had actually grown
Okay.
out of the zombies' bodies. Caldwell immediately realized the virus had entered its second stage.
You know, it's
The
yours,
virus
you
just
know
lived
where
inside
you keep
humans.
it.
Imagine we
Now
have
it was
that in
actively
Mimi.
spreading. Once the fruits on these plants ripened, the
It's
virus
yours now, you know where you
inside
keep it
would
now.
At that point, anything they could do, they could do.
It's yours, you know where you keep
To
it.
take back for research. On the way,
I would
Melanie
love to
curiously
use salt
asked
to
why the
wash
fruit would
chicken.
cause the end of the world once it ripened. Caldwell patiently explained it to her. She also showed Melanie how tough the fruit's shell was. Unless there was a fire or some extreme condition, it was very hard to break them open.
I think I don't
As they kept
remove this
walking,
and this
they
is
discovered a vehicle that looked like an RV. Caldwell was overjoyed because
This
she
would be
knew it
that
was
picture.
actually
I don't know what I
working
used
for
to
it.
do.
They went
Me,
inside and found the
you come and
equipment
cook
still
it
in
too.
perfect
I can't cook
condition.
food without
Although the
pepper.
vehicle couldn't start, at least it could serve as a temporary base for them.
Cooking food,
Thanks
you
to the
don't
solar
put
power
pepper.
system, they didn't need to worry about electricity for now. The only problem was the lack of food. Parks immediately tried to contact the lighthouse for rescue, but there was no response from the other end. Left with no choice, Gallagher decided to go out and search for supplies. Meanwhile, Melanie started breathing heavily. Her body was reminding her that she needed to eat. To prevent her from losing control, Parks allowed her to go out and find food on her own. Soon, she caught a pigeon on a rooftop and devoured it hungrily. But Gallagher was not so lucky. Not only did he find nothing, but something had started following him. At the same time, Melanie sensed danger. Following the scent, she arrived at a house.
Go. This place is
Inside,
dirty.
she discovered a group of zombie children like herself. Suddenly, one of the zombie kids ran in hurriedly and whispered something to their leader. Right after that, all the zombie children rushed out together. Melanie guessed that they were heading out to hunt. She quickly returned to the lab and told Parks what she had seen. Gallagher was still outside looking for food. At that moment, Gallagher found a can of food on the street. Then he saw a second can, and a third one. Following the trail of cans, Gallagher reached the entrance of a supermarket.
Yeah?
Because the gap between the doors was too narrow, he had to leave
What?
his gear. including
Just
his radio,
remember,
outside.
don't
He
put
had no idea he was
spices.
walking right into
Just
his
much
radio was
problem.
outside. He
So
missed
we just
Parks'
boil it
urgent
like this?
call.
Yes.
Inside, Gallagher found plenty of food.
I will boil it
As soon
for
as he
you,
turned
cook
around,
it.
he saw a kid holding
No,
a
it's
huge
okay.
rat.
Just
In the
boil.
next second,
Don't use
more
spices.
zombie
Your angel
children
has
appeared before him.
she
Before
has been
Gallagher could
vomiting.
react, they all
You add the
started
spices to
fighting
it,
and
you
wildly.
worsen her
By the time
situation.
Melanie and the others arrived, all they saw was a chewed up corpse. Suddenly, Melanie realized something. She urged everyone to leave quickly, but as she peeked out from the supermarket, they were already
I just
surrounded
want
by
to
the
come
zombie
and
children.
cook it.
Parks instinctively raised his gun, but Melanie stopped him. She knew these kids just wanted to survive. She wanted to protect her own kind in her own way. Just then, a female zombie charged at her. Melanie knocked it down with a single punch. They fought like wild beasts, relying on instinct and intimidation. Melanie tried to scare them into backing off, but their leader, armed with a bat, rushed to attack. Melanie easily dodged every swing because she had received human combat training. With a quick move, she trapped the leader. Then she picked up the zombie's bat and struck the leader repeatedly until he died. The brutal scene completely shocked the other zombie children. They were terrified by what they saw. The others finally understood. Melanie was proving her strength to earn the respect of her wild kind. Without their leader, the zombie children scattered like loose sand. Melanie successfully led Parks and Helen out of danger. They safely returned to the lab, but found the door wide open. As soon as they entered, they saw Caldwell wearing a gas mask and pointing a gun. Before they could react, they were knocked out by gas. Caldwell had secretly released sleeping gas into the air. Her wound had become infected, and she knew she didn't have much time left. She had to dissect Melanie to create the vaccine, but when she turned around, she was shocked to see Melanie standing up. Because of her special zombie body, Melanie didn't need to breathe as much as humans. Realizing her plan was exposed, Caldwell tried to persuade Melanie emotionally. She said if they made the vaccine, Melanie would become a hero for all humanity, and Helen would never turn into a monster. Melanie hesitated for a moment, but then she thought of the zombie children outside. What had they done wrong? They only wanted to live too. Ever since she was born, no one had truly accepted them, except Helen. Humans only wanted to use them to eliminate zombies. This world already belonged to the dead. Why should they sacrifice themselves for humans? If humans treated their lives like nothing, then maybe zombies should rule this planet. Melanie told Caldwell to stay inside the lab. Then she walked out alone. Caldwell understood what Melanie was about to do, and immediately chased after. But she didn't get far before being surrounded by the zombie children. She gave a helpless smile, accepting her fate. Meanwhile, Melanie reached the giant plant. Without hesitation, she lit it with a match. The fire quickly spread upward. The zombie fruits exploded one after another. Countless zombie viruses were released into the air ahead of time. Soon the virus would cover the entire Earth. After finishing everything, Melanie headed back to the lab. On the way, she ran into Parks, who had come to find her. It was clear he had already inhaled the virus. Melanie kept apologizing to him, but it was too late. Parks knew he would soon turn. He pulled out his gun and begged Melanie to end his life. He didn't want to become a monster. In the end, Melanie tearfully agreed. In the final scene, Helen woke up in the lab. She became the last human on Earth. She resumed her role as a teacher and began educating the zombie children, passing on human history as much as she could. And so, a brand new civilization was about to be born. The story started with a group of old high school friends reuniting for a fun weekend at sea. Amy and her husband James brought their baby daughter Sarah, along for the trip. Another couple, Zach and Lauren, joined them too. The trip was organized by Dan, who came with his young and pretty girlfriend, Michelle. Dan proudly claimed the fancy yacht was his, trying hard to impress his old friends. From the moment she got on board, Amy looked uneasy. She had a serious fear of water. That fear came from a childhood trauma. She had witnessed her father drown. Because of this, she insisted on wearing a life jacket the entire time. Everyone jumped into the water to swim, leaving Amy on the boat. Dan, being playful, picked Amy up and jumped into the sea with her. She let out a terrified scream, but no one noticed something important. They had forgotten to lower the yacht's ladder. When they tried to get back on the boat, they realized the 10-foot-high sides were way too smooth to climb. No matter how hard they tried, they couldn't reach the deck. They all started to panic and struggle in the water. But without anything to push against with their feet, every attempt failed. Amy, already terrified of water, was in an even worse state. She could barely stay afloat with help from her husband James. This couldn't last forever. If they couldn't get back on the yacht, the only thing waiting for them out here was death. Michelle had been soaking in the cold water for too long, and she started shivering uncontrollably. Dan tried to comfort her. He then noticed the inflatable dolphin floating, and suddenly got an idea. He placed the dolphin under himself, hoping to use it as support to climb up, but it was too unstable. Each time he climbed halfway, he lost balance and fell back. After many tries, not only did he fail, but he also popped the inflatable dolphin. Soon, Dan noticed the yacht's flag waving in the wind. When the wind died down, the flag would hang lower. He gathered all his strength and lunged toward it, trying to grab the flag like a rope. It was tough, but after several tries, he finally caught a corner of the flag. Just as he started to pull himself up, the flag tore apart. Everyone was crushed. They had no choice but to come up with another plan. Amy was feeling a bit better now, but just as the group was discussing what to do next, Michelle suddenly felt something move under the water. Her panicked reaction scared everyone. To check it out, Dan quickly dove underwater and looked around. Luckily, it was a false alarm. He didn't find anything strange. But after being stuck in the water for so long, everyone was feeling completely drained. Michelle was in worse shape since the inflatable dolphin was already ruined. She started choking on water and couldn't hold on any longer. In desperation, she set her sights on Amy's life jacket. She swam behind Amy and pushed her underwater. James saw it and rushed to stop her. He managed to pull Amy back up just in time. Michelle quickly explained that she had no choice. She was never a good swimmer and had already reached her limit. Seeing how weak Michelle was, no one blamed her too much. Lauren even tried to calm her down and helped her float using the least energy possible. As the situation got worse, everyone began to blame Dan. They scolded him for being careless and forgetting to lower the ladder. They were even more furious that he had thrown Amy, who couldn't swim well, into the sea. Now there was no one left on board to help. Worse yet, baby Sarah was still sleeping alone inside the cabin. Dan's reckless behavior had put them all in danger.
Is this
Hearing
one
the
dry?
complaint, Dan had nothing to say. He quietly swam away, trying to avoid their anger. To save energy, the group found two small pools in the bow of the boat. These things barely hold themselves up. No one knew how much time had passed, and Amy suddenly heard a phone ringing nearby.
Why did you want to cook this food? It's in the
Swam
tire.
around the yacht, located the cabin.
You will not put salt to and warm it.
With his phone still in the pocket.
Eh?
To get it,
You will not
Zach
put
took a deep
salt
breath
to for the
powered
chicken
up
and warm
underwater.
it.
With a strong push, he managed to grab the clothes. He fumbled
Huh?
through the pocket and pulled out the phone. They thought they could finally
Show
call
me
her up,
what? I
but the
don't
phone
want.
had
Show
no
me.
signal.
Let me show you. Let me show
Michelle
you.
panicked and
I have
tried
to
grab
remove
the
all
phone
this
from her,
thing.
which caused it to get wet even more. Now the
There
phone
was hair.
dead.
All this hair that's in this chicken, so I have to remove it. I don't like feathers in chicken.
The little
When we are
hope they
cooking
just
it.
saw disappeared instantly. Michelle cursed loudly,
Uh-huh.
saying
Yeah,
if
they
she
cook
had
for
handled
bow.
it herself, things wouldn't have gone so
They said
wrong.
for bow,
Just
they
as
do
they were
that before
close
my
to
mind
breaking
died.
down, a yacht appeared in the distance. They
How are we
immediately
going to do?
screamed for
I'm
help
done
and
washing
waved their
it.
arms like crazy.
After this one, I'm not washing it
Didn't
again.
realize anything was wrong.
Now
They
move
just
like-
thought it was a friendly wave. and waved
There's
back
no
as
salt.
they
You will
were
not put
away.
salt in.
This crushed their last
Well,
hope.
I
Watching
will.
their chances of survival slip away again
put-
and again,
okay,
only
I
made their
will.
suffering even harder to bear. Soon Dan came up with another idea.
And I want it to cook so that they will be able to eat.
Tie them together to make a rope. Maybe they could use it to
And
climb
you
back
can
up.
fold
The group
this
had no
one.
better plan, so they agreed to try. Even though they didn't have written code, they managed to tie enough together to give it a shot. They threw the makeshift rope onto the deck. After several tries, they finally hooked it onto the railing. Zach, being the strongest, started climbing. He was extra careful with every move, afraid the rope might tear. Soon, one of his hands touched the edge of the deck, but just as he was about to make it, the rope suddenly ripped, and he fell straight back into the water. So close, yet still a
Come
failure.
on, cook
Everyone
the way you
felt
want it.
frustrated.
Please, where
There was
was
nothing
this
they could do. James refused
You
to
guys
just
don't
wait
eat
around
nothing.
and die. He
Is
swam
anything
around the
there?
yacht to see if there was another way in. Then he dove underwater to inspect the bottom of the boat. But after
Where did
all
you
that
keep
happened,
this
he
thing?
found nothing. To make
Please,
things worse,
let me wash
he
my
managed to
hands.
put slipped from his hand and sank. James quickly dove down to retrieve it. But chasing the knife used up a lot of his energy. By the time he grabbed it, he was already choking on water and needed to surface fast. In his panic, his head slammed into the boat's hard surface. A heavy blow caused a skull fracture. James blacked out in pain. His condition was now critical. This terrifying situation made everyone panic even more. Zach took the knife and swam to the side of the boat. He stabbed it hard, trying to use it as an anchor point to climb up. But Dan, the yacht owner, wasn't having it. He didn't want anyone damaging his boat.
It's small,
So he rushed
oh.
over to stop Zach. Both of them were emotional and angry. While fighting over the knife, Dan accidentally stabbed James in the body. Because he had been in the water so long, the wound
And that
was
just
deep.
cannot cook
Zach
this.
thrashed helplessly in the water. He didn't want to just bleed out and die. The water around him was turning red. Michelle, terrified that the blood might attract sharks, started swimming away. But that was a terrible decision for someone who couldn't swim well. Soon she ran out of strength and sank beneath the waves. Zach wasn't doing any better. The wound had been soaking for too long, and he had lost way too much blood. His life was hanging by a thread. Watching his friends dying one by one, James lost it. He punched Dan again and again in rage, screaming that this was all his fault. Dan had taken them on this trip with zero safety awareness, and now people were dying because of it. At that moment, Dan also felt deeply guilty for his carelessness. Now that things had gotten this bad, he finally told the truth. It turned out the yacht wasn't his at all. Dan was just a worker, hired to take care of the
Let's
boat.
not at
He
you,
took it
shout.
out
You
without
don't
permission.
shout.
Just pretend he was rich for a day. He admitted he had stopped Zach earlier because he didn't want to damage the boat. He never imagined things would get this out of control. Dan kept apologizing over and over again. But at this point, everyone was already in deep trouble. Even knowing the truth didn't matter anymore. As time passed,
You can't use
Zach
the two
wiped
guys.
out
What
his
happened?
eyes for the last time.
You know, we don't have time, and
Completely
this
exhausted.
this
No
we
one had the
cannot.
strength to carry a
We
body.
are in rush,
They
and
had no
that's
choice but to let
this thing
Zach
cannot.
float away, slowly
cannot
sinking into
go
the
in
sea.
chicken.
James, who had hit his head earlier, was also getting worse. It was clear now that the others couldn't help anymore. Lauren didn't want to just sit there and wait to die. She made a bold decision. She was going to swim towards shore, but in the middle of the endless ocean, there was no chance that would work. Amy held on to the injured James, struggling to keep them both afloat. Dan remembered how Zach tried to stab the boat with a knife, now just to survive. He didn't care if the boat got damaged. The knife had already
I'm following you. Go cook your food because food where you don't want to put pepper and this thing. Cook it. I'm not cooking.
Meanwhile, Baby Sarah's crying could be heard from
You don't want to put pepper. You don't want to put this. What you know?
Then a few raindrops fell onto the
Lock door.
Within seconds, heavy rain.
You said you will not wear slipper with this your vomit. You will not use that leg to climb the chair. You can't even. This all this thing is dirty. You will climb the chair again.
She pushed his body aside and watched.
Visitor is coming this house.
On the other side, Dan couldn't find the knife anywhere. The stormy waves made it nearly impossible to breathe. Thankfully, Amy swam over just in time. She took off her life jacket and shared it with him. They returned to the boat's edge and grabbed onto the metal loop, barely managing to hold on. Lightning lit up the sky, and the flash reflected off Dan's goggles, hitting his face with a sharp glare. That moment gave Dan an idea, a way to climb back onto the boat. Dan grabbed the goggles and started smashing them against the yacht's side. Soon he managed to remove one of the lenses. Even though blood poured from his hand, he was determined to try one last method. Dan swam to the side of the yacht and forcefully jammed the lens into a crack in the boat's surface. He grabbed the lens tightly with both hands and let Amy step onto his back to climb up. But Amy had already run out of energy from all the struggling, and the violent storm made things even harder. Thankfully, after several desperate tries, Amy finally touched the rope hanging over the deck. With Dan lifting her as hard as he could, she finally pulled herself up. Amy collapsed on the deck.
Fuck crazy,
exhausted.
man.
She lay there for a while, but finally forcing herself
I'm
to stand.
okay, man.
She rushed to the safety ladder and released the emergency ladder. Once she confirmed the ladder had
So cool. Yeah, it's so crazy cool. Okay, so I should be following this, right?
Amy quickly picked her up and held her tight. After making sure
Okay,
Sarah was okay, she finally breathed a sigh of relief. But outside, Dan still hadn't climbed up. The guilt of losing his friends because of his pride
Put your
and
food with that
recklessness was
pepper.
something he couldn't forgive himself for.
Let's see how
Amy
it
sensed
is.
something
Let's-
was wrong. She looked around and realized Dan hadn't come into the cabin. When she returned to the deck to find him, she saw Dan slowly swimming away, choosing to end his own life. The shadows of her childhood trauma came back, but this time...
Where will I put all this?
She dove into the water and swam with all her strength toward Dan, trying to save him.
There.
The next morning, a fishing boat came
Okay,
near the secretly abandoned
Auntie.
yacht. The fishermen heard a baby crying. As they approached, they discover Amy, severely traumatized. She sits on the deck with Dan's body beside her.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
The story
Sir.
started with a car exaggeration plan. Friends and classmates spent the night partying on the beach. Kaylee felt uncomfortable watching her boyfriend Jonah getting too close to Chanda. To make sure everyone had fun without distraction, Mitch took everyone's phones and threw them in the car trunk. Not long after, Vance and Gilbert found a big slimy ball on the beach. It looked strange, but they didn't pay it much attention. Everyone continued enjoying the party. The next day was sunny, but only a few of them remained on the beach. Kaylee and Mitch had slept in the lifeguard tower. Jonah and Chanda, along with Vance and his girlfriend Ronnie, stayed in a convertible, and Marcia woke up topless on a picnic table. Kaylee noticed some clothes and sleeping bags landed on the sand. Did everyone else leave already? She felt something was wrong. As Kaylee tried to figure things out, a seagull landed on the sand. Shockingly, the bird seemed stuck. In just moments, the beach swallowed it completely. There was something deadly beneath the sand. Realizing the danger, Kaylee warned everyone not to move, but it was too late. Marcia, still groggy, stepped onto the sand and got stuck. She desperately tried to free herself with her hands, but
Somebody wife.
both her hands and feet were trapped.
Somebody
Vance ignored
wife
everyone's
is
warning, determined to save
taking.
Marcia. But after just a few steps, he
Usiweke
fell
glasses
onto the
zangu.
sand. As he
Zangu
swung,
kashi
the
cool,
creature
yeah.
beneath
It's
tore
cool,
off
yeah.
half of his face, then pulled him under completely. This terrifying scene left everyone stunned. They argued about the truth behind the deadly beach. Without their phones, locked in the trunk, they had no way to call
If
for
I-
help.
if I go back to
They tried
Nigeria,
car and
you
drive
want
away,
to
but
miss
of course,
me.
It wouldn't start.
I'm going back
Kaylee wanted to know what
Thursday,
was
right?
hiding beneath them. She carefully
21
placed her
Thursday,
hand near the sand.
my flight
Immediately,
ticket is-
many
my
transparent
return
tentacle-like
ticket is
creatures
Thursday.
emerged, following every movement of her hand.
21 should be
Meanwhile,
Thursday.
Gilbert, who
Hey,
got
I
drunk
have
the
to
night before,
print
had been
my
stuffed into a
ticket
trash
out.
can as a prank.
If
Ironically,
we go
this
out,
saved his life
okay?
for now.
I need
Gilbert
to
woke
print
up
my
cursing and
ticket
struggling
out.
to get out, but he was too fat and stuck tight.
Why is
Mitch
this
quickly
smelling?
explained the deadly
You mess.
situation, warning everyone to stay put. As long as they avoided touching the sand, they would be safe for a while. But as time passed, their willpower slowly faded. Kaylee couldn't understand. Last night, they'd been playing on the sand without issues. Why had this deadly monster suddenly appeared? Where had
Yes,
everyone
sir.
else gone?
Well,
Had the creature
yes, sir.
eaten them all? Thinking about this pushed everyone to their breaking point. Gilbert had it worse. Not only was he painfully stuck, but he was also roasting under the hot sun, nearly losing his mind. Gilbert began shaking the trash can, desperate to escape. To ease Gilbert's suffering, Jonah threw him some sunscreen. The distance was far, but Jonah had good aim. Jonah quickly rubbed the lotion onto his skin, instantly feeling
You don't
relief
talk
from
when
his
I'm
misery.
talking.
Just then, Kaylee noticed something
You don't
new.
talk when I'm
Everyone looked where she
talking.
was pointing. The strange ball Vance and Gilbert found last night had cracked open. They finally
I remember
understood.
this in
The
one
creature
for
beneath
me.
the sand had come from that ball. It was actually an egg.
Person
After
wife.
everyone fell asleep, the monster
Sir?
hatched and hid under the sand. Those
Oh!
like things were its tentacles. To figure out
What's
the creature's
that?
attack range, Kaylee tossed a sausage onto the sand. As expected, the sausage vanished quickly. She tried several more times until the last sausage remained untouched. Now they knew exactly how far the monster could reach. If they got past that spot, they could escape safely. The only problem was that the safe spot was pretty far away. How could they get there without touching the sand? Jonah came up with an idea. There were 2 surfboards in the car. He placed one surfboard onto the sand, stepped onto it, then carefully placed the second surfboard in front of it. Everything went smoothly, but as Jonah put one foot onto a wooden stool, the monster struck. It pulled the surfboard backward. Jonah nearly fell, but luckily he managed to hold himself up with his hands. However, the board kept sliding back, and Jonah couldn't hold on much longer. The monster's tentacles appeared again, trying to stab Jonah's stomach. In a desperate moment, Jonah jumped with all his strength onto the picnic table. He was safe, but his stomach had been injured. Pain quickly spread through his body. Clearly, the tentacles were
Yeah,
poisonous.
I didn't watch
Jonah
my
rested
own
on the
clothes
table for a
tomorrow.
moment,
I think
and then noticed
it should
Marcia's
be on
bag
Sunday
left
night
behind.
because
As he searched for something useful,
tomorrow we don't
a
have
banana
time
fell out onto
again.
the sand. Without thinking, Jonah
didn't
picked
wash
it up.
mine.
He suddenly realized the monster didn't attack him. Holding the banana, he slowly moved toward the fire pit. Surprisingly, the tentacles stayed away. Jonah figured something out. The creature was afraid of fire. To test his theory, he jumped directly onto the fire pit. He was right. The monster didn't touch him. But at this moment, everyone saw Jonah's stomach wound had gotten worse. It was covered in blisters, some already oozing pus. Enduring incredible pain, Jonah returned to the picnic table. Kaylee reminded him to check Marcia's bag again. He found some beverages and bottled water inside. When Jonah threw a soda to Mitch, he fell onto the sand. Jonah had used too much strength, causing his wound to tear open even more. Blood sprayed out, and he had no choice but to lie down. He couldn't move anymore. Now the monster turned its attention elsewhere. It moved the surfboards first, then started eating the tires. At this rate, the creature would soon swallow the entire car, along with everyone still on it. The sun was blazing, and no one would come to the beach. If they wanted help, the only hope was the phones. They had to remove the back seat to open the trunk. But Chanda and Ronnie were too weak to pull it off. Ronnie refused to sit around and wait for death. She stepped onto the bumper with both feet, held onto Chanda with one hand, and used the other hand to insert the key into the trunk lock. As the trunk started to open, Ronnie lost her footing and almost fell down. Seeing this, Mitch grabbed a body hook and tried to help. They all worked together and were just about to succeed when suddenly a beach patrol car came near. The siren startled Ronnie so badly, the trunk slammed shut in the panic. Ronnie fell onto the car and got her fingers caught. They waved frantically for help. Kaylee shouted at Beach Patrol Officer Alex not to get out of the car. She begged him to call for backup. There was a monster under the sand that ate people, but no matter what Kaylee said, Alex didn't believe her. He accused them of being high on drugs. When he saw Jonah lying weakly on the table, Alex stepped out to check. Everyone thought he was a goner for sure, but to their surprise, nothing happened. Alex was completely fine.
You see another
thanks to his
cloth
boots.
inside the washing
Apparently, the
machine.
monster couldn't hurt you if there was no direct skin contact. Alex walked up to Jonah first.
Amen,
He looked at Jonah's
sir.
stomach and turned away in disgust, thinking it was some kind of STD. Then he went over to Gilbert, trying to pull him out of the trash can, but he failed. The whole situation made no sense, and Alex was frustrated. He walked to the lifeguard tower and ordered Kaylee and Mitch to come down, but going down meant certain death. Of course, they refused. Furious, Alex threatened to spray them with pepper
Did you
spray
watch that
while
one?
yelling,
Yes.
the key hanging on his
When
belt
was
slipped
that?
off. He bent down to pick it up without thinking, but the moment his hand touched the sand, he couldn't pull it back. Panicked, Alex sprayed pepper spray at the monster's tentacles. Good news, the creature hated the burning sensation and backed off. Bad news, Alex's arm was already mostly gone. After a scream of pure agony, Alex collapsed to the ground.
You
He
guys
became
cannot
the
even
monster's
get so
next
fast.
meal. His death made the others even more
You
hopeless.
climbed the
But
chair
Kaylee
now.
quickly grabbed his pepper spray. Then Mitch came up with a new plan. He wrapped his feet with towels and prepared to run across the sand. As Chanda tossed a towel to him, Mitch stumbled, crashed through the railing, and fell flat on the sand. Immediately, tentacles shot out
You guys
from all
doesn't
directions, stabbing
But
deep into his
inside
skin.
is so
Within
fast.
moments, the creature
You don't have
devoured
inside
Mitch
so fast.
completely. Not even
Yeah.
a bone was left behind.
But you
All
don't
that
like to
remained
hear
was
it.
a horrifying, human-shaped bloodstain on the sand.
Mama,
Mitch's brutal
Mama.
death threw everyone into sadness again. But Kaylee knew it wasn't the time to grieve. They had to find a way to escape, fast. She told Chanda
Put
to
on
pick
your
up a piece
slippers.
of
Wear your
bedding from the
slippers.
ground
Was it not
and
that
place it on
slipper
the
that
car.
she for me?
Then Kaylee
Put that
removed a
slippers
few more
inside.
sections.
Put that
She took a
inside
deep
inside
breath and
toilet.
jumped
Put
off
it
the
inside
car.
bathroom.
To show Gilbert the escape route, Kaylee told him to try and turn himself around.
Put it
Gilbert
inside
gritted his
bathroom.
teeth and pushed through the pain. Meanwhile, with Kaylee and Chanda's
Wow.
help, Ronnie finally
You guys are
pulled
making
the
me
trapped
I
fingers
feel
out of
like
the trunk.
vomiting.
Kaylee and Chanda laid the metal railings across the sand, planning to walk across them to reach the picnic table and regroup with Jonah. They made it safely.
You
Then,
can't wear
it was
slippers to
Ronnie's
come
turn.
inside. You
Something
clean your
went
leg
wrong.
here.
She moved too
Where's my
quickly, lost her balance,
Clean your leg
and fell
and
onto
climb
the
up.
sand. In a panic, Kaylee sprayed her with the pepper spray and tried to pull her up. The monster wasn't done. Its tentacles struck again and dragged Ronnie under in the blink of an eye. Before anyone could react, another threat appeared. Gilbert had scraped his stomach. The monster smelled blood and launched its next attack. Its sharp tentacle pierced the metal trash can and slithered inside. But Gilbert didn't notice a thing. Chanda wrapped her feet in towels and ran to the police car safely.
Oh my God.
She woke up to Kaylee's voice. Chanda climbed onto the car roof and found a life raft. She inflated it. Kaylee helped Jonah step onto it. At last, the three of them made it into the police car. But the danger wasn't over yet. The vehicle shook violently. The monster's tentacles returned. Only now, they were thicker and glowing with an eerie blue light. Kaylee realized they had no way out, so she climbed onto the roof and grabbed a gas can. She poured gasoline all over the sand. When the tentacles approached, Kaylee lit a match from her pocket and set the sand on fire. The tentacles burst into flames. Kaylee quickly climbed back inside. The creature tried to open the door but failed. Time passed. The night grew quiet. The fire finally killed the tentacles. Inside the car,
I
everyone
don't know how
sat in
your mommy
silence,
used to
thinking
do it,
about
guys.
the
You guys
nightmare they
doesn't
had
get
just survived. When morning came, he stopped
Irritates.
breathing. His injuries were too severe.
Guys
Just
don't
then,
wear so
a young
fast
man
for
heading
your
to
leg.
surf spotted them and woke Kaylee and Chanda.
Irene, I'm
They
done.
carefully stepped out of the car, tested the ground, and finally let out a long
Any work
sigh
for
of
me?
relief. Kaylee and Chanda were finally saved, but the monster wasn't truly dead. It had only lost
Another
one
one. No, no, no.
tentacle.
Wait.
In the final scene, the monster was revealed to be a massive jellyfish.
Wait, so
Silently
it's not,
swimming
it was
toward
only you
another
that
car.
get this close alone. Big work.
Oh yeah, it's not
A girl
around.
named
See,
Chloe
there
wanted
might be
to
a
jump in the
call.
water to suffice her work
Yeah, give me
day,
big
but
wow.
she didn't know Day was already in danger. Just as she was getting
Sorry,
running
sorry.
steps off her dog.
Sorry,
When
okay.
something was happening, she started barking frantically. Day noticed
Sorry,
and tried to
Joy.
stop her.
Joy,
But
go and get
it was
your
too late.
slippers. Put
Chloe
on your
lost her
slippers. This guy is
balance. Hit her head
dirty.
hard on the diving board.
Put on your
and fell
slippers. This
straight
guy
into
is
the
dirty.
pool.
Your
Day
slippers.
quickly swam towards Chloe.
Yeah,
and
put
lifted
it
her onto
on.
an air mattress. Seeing that
The guy
Chloe
is
was bleeding
dirty.
badly, He quickly dove underwater, picked up the silk scarf from the bottom,
Yes.
and urgently used it to help stop Koi's bleeding. Day shouted
Where's
loudly
it
for
also
help.
pass? Where's
Lucky
your
nearby
also
seemed to
pass?
understand, and also barked loudly
And then
trying to
where
get the
it?
owner call
The
out.
ground is
But it was all
dirty.
useless, because this pool had been abandoned for many years.
Wear it.
A
Wear
few
it on
hours
your
earlier,
leg.
Day had come here to swim. Unexpectedly, someone had opened the drain valve. The pool water quickly rushed towards the drain. When Day was woken up by Lucky's barking, half the pool water was already draining. Day immediately felt something
Leave me
small.
alone.
He quickly swam towards the edge of the pool. Only then did he realize the pool actually had no ladder. He tried to climb out, but the tiles were too slippery. He had nowhere to get a grip. So he brought over the air mattress, thinking he could step on it to climb out, but it still wasn't high enough. Just then he saw his phone on the edge through a reflection. Day instantly had an idea. He took off the belt from his bathrobe, tied it to his glasses, and tried to hook the phone to turn it down. But
What
after
you call
countless
me?
tries he failed, with no other options.
Can't
He
you
tried to
call
shout
me
loudly for
auntie?
help, but the pool had been abandoned for years. No one was likely to come rescue him.
Call
Just
me
then his girlfriend,
auntie.
Koi, suddenly called. The vibration moved the phone right to the edge of the pool.
Yeah,
Koi
that's
suddenly
my
saw
name.
help. He reached out, staring intently at the pool. Lucky seeing this kept barking encouragement for his owner, but Lucky lost his footing and stumbled near the pool edge. Lucky desperately tried to climb up, but the pool wall was just too slippery. On one side was the phone that could save him. On the other was his beloved pet. Dave felt incredibly torn. In the end, he decided to save Lucky first. He used the air mattress to push against Lucky's back legs and successfully
I mean, where will I
but when
fold
he
this?
turned back, the
This
phone was already
basket is
fallen.
already
Dave was
full.
filled with regret. He kept blaming himself silently. Suddenly, he heard a vibration behind him. The phone had landed on the very edge of the pool. It turned out the phone was still connected to his charging cable. Dave desperately swam on.
What is
but
that?
right now the water level had dropped even
Why are you
more. He
shouting?
couldn't reach the phone at all. Seeing the phone about to fall in, Dave decided to risk it all. He leaped up
I'm
with all his might.
shouting.
Unfortunately, he didn't grab it, and the phone fell into the water. He quickly dove underwater and retrieved
I mean,
the
if you
phone,
put salt
but the
in
phone
that
wouldn't
meat.
turn on anymore. Hope was extinguished once
Hey!
again. He stopped the weapon from drawing further. He dove to the bottom and used
Hey!
the to lock the drain tightly. But when he tried to surface, his shorts chain got
Hey!
caught in the drain cover. Just at that exact moment, the pizza he had ordered arrived. The delivery guy kept
I'm not going to
looking
eat,
at him.
so.
At the same time, they also saw the delivery guy, but no matter how loud he yelled, his voice couldn't reach the edge. Seeing the delivery guy about to leave, Day used all his strength and finally broke the chain. He quickly swam to the surface, shouting help repeatedly, but his voice was drowned out by the loud noise of a motorcycle. He lost another chance to be rescued. It seemed like Day had used up all his lifetime's luck.
Where would
By
I
now,
be
Day was
putting
exhausted.
this?
He could only climb onto the air mattress and wait for rescue. An unknown amount of time passed. Koi, seeing Day hadn't called back, came to the pool herself. Seeing Day seemingly asleep in the pool, she wanted to give him a surprise, but instead the scene from the beginning unfolded. The surprise instantly turned into a shock. The sky quickly grew dark. Koi was still unconscious, and her
Harry,
head
this
was still
basket is
bleeding.
already
Suddenly
full.
Lucky
I
started
don't know
barking
where
wildly
mine
towards
is.
the
Let me
entrance.
fold it
Day
again
turned his
here
head to look.
for you.
He saw a crocodile. Day quickly signaled Lucky to be quiet. The crocodile had already targeted Lucky. It was slowly approaching him. Unexpectedly, the crocodile lost its footing and fell right into the pool. It was a disaster. Day was instantly terrified. He dove underwater to look for the crocodile, but he couldn't find any sign of it. Day quickly dragged Koi back
What
around the
is
mattress.
it here?
After all unseen danger is the most dangerous kind. Day stood on the couch, constantly watching for the crocodile's movements. But luckily, the crocodile didn't seem hungry. It didn't charge at Day. By the next day, the pool water had completely drained. The crocodile watched menacingly from the side, and Koi's wound was still bleeding. It needed to be re-bandaged.
I'm
Day looked
done.
around. He noticed there was a wolf
Any
tail
work
in the
for me?
crocodile's mouth. Day slowly walked
Any
towards
work
the sleeping
again?
crocodile. He wanted to take the tape out of its mouth.
Use me
Day
as
was
you
very
like,
careless.
because
He
I'm
carefully
here.
reached out his hand. Suddenly, Lucky barked loudly. Day was startled. He quickly signaled Lucky to be quiet. Thankfully, the crocodile didn't wake up. Day
What are you doing? Are you mopping?
He reached out his hand once more, but the crocodile woke up. Luckily, Day
Okay, are you
saw
washing
something.
bathroom?
If he had actually been bitten, the consequences would have been unthinkable. After getting the tape, Day quickly bandaged Koi. They had been trapped in this abandoned pool for 2 days and 2 nights. The fire
I'm
wouldn't
done.
turn on. No one was likely coming to rescue them. Just then, Dave saw the drain nearby. Maybe there was a
I'm
way out
done.
down there. But when he went over, he found the drain cover was fixed with screws.
Is there any
While
work
keeping an eye on the
again?
crocodile's movements, he tried to
Use
turn the
me.
screws, but he twisted for a long time, and the cover
Now you
didn't
see
budge
me.
at all. He had to go back to Koi's side. Then he saw Koi's necklace could be used as a tool. Just as he took off the necklace,
Oh
he saw
my
the
God.
crocodile lying on the drain cover, and it opened its massive jaws. Day had no choice but to tear out some tape. Using the tape, he kept trying to hit and distract the crocodile with it. Luckily, the crocodile didn't bother with him and turned away. Day seized the chance and used the necklace to unscrew the bolts. He successfully opened the drain cover. Day peered inside and saw there was indeed a tunnel below. Rather than wait here to die, it was better to take a chance. He quickly returned to Koi's side, wanting to wake her so they could go in together. However, while Day wasn't looking, the crocodile had secretly crawled inside. Day waited outside for a long time, but the crocodile didn't
Oh,
come out.
before
Seeing
I
Chloe in
fall
danger,
down.
Day decided to take a chance.
We are
He
going
jumped
to
down
airport.
and picked a random
What was that?
direction. He had no idea which
Sorry.
side the crocodile was on.
What did
all
he
could do
injure?
was
Oh,
hope for the best.
sorry.
And surprisingly, his luck wasn't too bad. He actually
He's not
found the
injured.
exit, but the exit was locked. He kept shouting for help, not realizing the crocodile had quietly climbed back into the pool, slowly creeping toward Koi. Lucky sensed danger and started barking like crazy. Day
Yeah,
saw the
maybe.
crocodile's movement through the mirror. He quickly rushed back to
Yeah.
where he came. By then, the crocodile was already next to Koi. It tried to crawl
Give me my
into a
charger.
waist, ready to bite her in half.
Give me my
Luckily,
charger.
Day showed up just in
Angel.
time and knocked the
My
crocodile
charger, so
away.
that I will not
When it still
forget
didn't
if I
give
want
up,
to.
he grabbed a stick
With
and
the
drove
phone,
off.
with my
Only then
small
did the
phone.
crocodile finally leave. But Day was completely exhausted. He started feeling dizzy, and things weren't looking good. By nighttime, Koi finally woke up, but there was no food or water. They knew they wouldn't last long like this. Then they noticed something strange. The crocodile stayed in one spot all day without moving. By the next day, they realized why. The crocodile had just laid a nest of eggs. Just as they figured it out, Day felt dizzy again and fainted. The crocodile slowly crept toward him. As it got closer, Lucky barked to warn him. Day realized the crocodile had taken the bait. He jumped up, grabbed the crocodile, and shoved it into the sewer. Then he slammed the cover shut. He and Koi dragged over a couch and pressed it down tight on top of the cover. It was all part of their plan. They wanted to steal the crocodile's eggs, using the glasses to focus sunlight and making fire by rubbing sticks together. They managed to cook the eggs. At last, they had a meal of crocodile eggs. With their strength restored, they stacked up the couch, trying to build a human ladder to escape. But the pool was over 6 meters deep. They couldn't reach the top. They had no choice but to give up. Still desperate to escape, they moved the couch away and decided to go through the sewer. As soon as the crocodile crawled out, they quickly slipped inside. The crocodile realized its eggs were gone and charged at them like crazy. Luckily, Day reacted fast. He slid into the tunnel just in time, narrowly avoiding the crocodile's jaws. They were finally safe, but the crocodile let out a furious roar, not daring to waste another second. Day and Koi hurried to open the exit. Just then, Lucky suddenly started barking loudly. He had spotted a drone. Day quickly shouted for help, but the person controlling it didn't seem to notice. Day knew he couldn't miss this chance, so he rushed back the way he came. But the moment he opened the manhole cover, he was completely stunned. It turned out to be just a toy drone. There wasn't even a camera on it. Still, he yelled for help, thinking the person controlling it might be nearby. But the crocodile nearby seemed to mock him, as if saying he would never escape. Just then, a strong gust of wind blew down a nearby wire. The wire looked like it could be used to climb up. Day saw a glimmer of hope and began climbing, but it wasn't as easy as he thought. The wire was covered with sharp points. After just a few steps, his hands were already bleeding. He clenched his teeth and kept climbing. The wire wasn't stable either. Day nearly fell. He gripped it tightly. It was his only chance. He was so close to the top, but suddenly the wire gave way. Day lost his
Why didn't you
balance
watch the
and fell
slip
hard
at
to the
once?
ground. He was in excruciating pain. He barely managed to wrap up his wounds before passing out. When he woke up again, pain shot through his leg. He looked down and saw a crocodile biting his injured leg. Day panicked and kicked the crocodile away,
Can
but
you
it wasn't about to
can
let
you
its
put
prey
these
escape.
things?
It opened its bloody
How did you
jaws
put it?
and slowly moved toward him. In a moment
See,
of
just-
desperation, Day grabbed a nearby bucket and slammed it down on the crocodile over and over. Finally,
How did they
the
used to
crocodile
put it
gave up and
now?
turned away. That night, Day climbed back into the sewer. This time he crawled in the opposite direction. Despite the pain, he crawled for a long time.
How did they
Until he
used to
found
put it?
another manhole cover. He pushed with all his strength.
Sometimes
If he could get out,
Angel,
he'd finally
I'm
be
getting-
free.
I'm
He
getting-
climbed up and hurried, but the next second, he was stunned again. This wasn't an exit.
Come on,
It was just
but
another
this is
swimming
not
pool.
our-
Day was
our-
crushed. The repeated failures made him want to give up. The next day, that same toy drone dropped into the pool again. Two men set up a ladder and climbed down to retrieve the toy. They were completely oblivious. They didn't notice the blood or the crocodile under the couch. Hearing voices, Day rushed back to the manhole, but when he opened the lid, they were already gone. He shouted for help, but no sound came out. Luckily, although the men had left, they forgot to take the ladder. Day saw hope once again, but when he tried to get to it, the crocodile blocked his path. What now? Meanwhile, on Koi's side, the rising rainwater had trapped her. If he didn't go soon, it might be too late. Facing the crocodile that refused to move, Day made a bold decision. He wrapped the wire around his hands, ready to fight the beast, but the crocodile attacked first, sinking its teeth into Day's
Asa
flesh.
kujua macho,
Day
angalia na
twisted his
huko.
body and climbed onto the crocodile's back. He punched its head furiously, then he grabbed a steel pipe and struck the crocodile hard, jamming the pipe straight into its mouth. The crocodile went still. It was finally over. At that moment, Day tried to climb the ladder and escape, but suddenly something went wrong. The ladder was accidentally carried up by the falling barrels. Now even Even his last hope was gone. Dave broke down again. Everything that had happened in the past few days felt like the universe was torturing him. Just then, Koi blew her whistle calling for help, but Lucky thought she was calling him. Day noticed and quickly tried to stop him, but it was already too late. Lucky ran toward the pool and was yanked back hard by the leash. Day was heartbroken, but if he didn't save Koi now, it might be too late. He fought through the pain, grabbed the dog leash, and climbed up toward the pool. Finally, he made it back into the sewer. He pried open the manhole cover with a steel pipe and pulled Koi out just in time. Luckily, Day had arrived before she drowned. The two of them hugged each other tightly.
Mom, nimesema kidogo basi.
This little girl has been late for school every day recently. Her teacher decided to meet her parents, but instead, the girl took the teacher to a prison. The teacher was shocked. It turned out this prison held the girl's only family member, her father, Yongku. The teacher wanted to talk to Yongku, but the teacher didn't know that Yongku had the mind of a 6-year-old. And even worse, his imprisonment was actually the greatest injustice of the century. It all began a few days earlier. A little girl accidentally slipped on an icy slope. Her head hit a rock, and blood started pouring out. When Yonggu saw this, he quickly ran over, removed her clothes, and performed CPR, which he had learned from watching TV. A woman passing by saw this. She misunderstood the scene, thinking Yonggu was attacking the little girl, and immediately screamed and called the police. Soon after, the police arrested Yonggu, and he was wrongly accused of murder and assault. No one realized he was actually trying to save the little girl. Although Yonggu had low intelligence, he deeply loved his daughter, Yesung. The police saw how naive he was. They knew he wanted to go home to take care of his daughter. They tricked him into confessing, promising he could return home if he admitted guilt. So Yonggu confessed. Of course, the police never let him go home. The court sentenced him to death. That's how Yonggu ended up in prison. The prison chief, Jung Min, heard about Yonggu's crimes. He beat Yonggu viciously, then ordered him locked up in the notorious cell number 7. When Yonggu entered the cell, 5 hardened criminals were already there, waiting for him. There was a con man, a robber, and even a thug. The cell leader, Yang Ho, especially despised Yonggu. Seeing the new guy, Yang Ho asked Yonggu to sing a song. But as soon as Yonggu started singing, Yang Ho realized this guy had mental disabilities. How could someone like this commit such a serious crime? The prisoners grabbed Yonggu's sentencing paper, and seeing the terrible charges, they also beat him badly. After that, Yonggu was constantly isolated and despised by everyone. He often sat alone in the corner, writing his daughter Yesung's name repeatedly with a stick. Until one day, Yonggu noticed a strange man in prison. This man kept sharpening a toothbrush. The end of the toothbrush became sharper and sharper. The gang leader took the sharpened toothbrush and stood up. He led a group of followers. The leader of cell number 7. Seeing this, Yonggu jumped to his feet. He rushed forward along with the attacker, heading straight for the unsuspecting Yang Ho. Yang Ho was tackled to the ground. Instead, Yonggu took the stab from the toothbrush. Realizing this, Yang Ho quickly fought off the attacker. Finally, prison guards arrived to break up the fight. When Yonggu later returned to his cell, things had changed. His cellmates kindly prepared his bed for him. Yang Ho, with a friendly tone, said, "You're a loyal guy. If you need anything, just ask." It turned out, Yang Ho knew everything about prison life. One day, during their exercise time, they purposely tossed the soccer ball. Inside. And hidden inside was whatever item they requested. Under Yang Ho's expected gaze, Yang Ho whispered his daughter's name. He wanted Yang Ho to sneak his daughter into prison. Bringing a little girl into a maximum security prison? Impossible, right? But Yang Ho had a reputation to uphold. If he promised something, he delivered. So, Yang Ho quickly planned an elaborate smuggling mission. There was going to be a Christian performance inside the prison. Yonggu's daughter, Yesung, blended into the group of performers. After a short while, someone quietly took her away, put her in a large cardboard box, and smuggled her into cell number 7. When the prisoners opened the box, little Yesung was curled up inside, looking around nervously. Then she spotted her dad sitting in the corner. Yonggu crawled over to her, overcome with emotion, and hugged her tightly. Yesung cried, complaining about how long he'd been gone and why he didn't tell her anything. Yonggu kept apologizing, saying he was sorry for making her worry. Just then, one of the prisoners panicked. If the guards found out, they'd all get extra sentences. Terrified, he called out to the guards, ready to confess. Yesung cried and begged him not to. The other prisoners quickly restrained him, desperately covering his mouth. But a guard had already heard the noise and and approached their cell. Everyone froze nervously. They stared anxiously at the prisoner. Just as he was about to speak, Yesung, hiding behind the door, grabbed his hand. Her tearful eyes pleaded with him silently. Looking down at the innocent little girl, the man softened. Instead of confessing, he just asked the guard for an extra piece of bread. Everyone sighed in relief. After the guard left, Jae-sung rushed back into
Why you
Young-goo's
up
arms.
there and
This
down?
time, she was smart enough not to cry out loud. Then she asked quietly, "Daddy, are you a bad person?" Young-gu innocently replied, "They're all bad guys, but I'm not." For the first time, the prisoners felt ashamed of being labeled bad guys. Suddenly, something unexpected happened. The pastor leading the performance got sick and had to end the show early. Everyone boarded the bus and left. Now Yesung had no way to sneak out with the group. She had to stay temporarily in cell number 7. Young-gu and Yesung were thrilled. The other prisoners were